Okay, good evening, Matilde. How are you? How's it going? Is everything all
Hello.
right?
Everything's all right, thank you.
Good. Great. So let's start, please, today's class. First of all, let's take a look at the calendar. You know that we are about to, well, finish this course as well. All right, this is a 8-8, and this Wednesday we're finishing everything for that course. We still have until Thursday the 13th to finish, right, all the assignments, quizzes, and what you have left. But at that same day, we are going to start with the next course that will be A9. All right, that's the first thing we have to take into account. So if everything is going well with Pearson and you don't have any questions or doubts, we are going to start with today's contents, okay?
Right.
Good. So again, let's take a look at these elements because again, they are very simple before going to our usual practice. This is comparative adjectives. How do you compare things in English, Matilda? What structures do you use? What expressions do you use? What do you do?
I mean, the ER part, like bigger, faster, quicker, that's this house is bigger than my neighbor's house.
Good. That's the one, right? And that's the basic one, the one where we have to cover here. So you have that covered. But let's try to go deeper. I mean, what's the criteria to use ER? When do you use ER? When do you use other ways to talk about comparatives for adjectives? What do you say? Do you have a criteria or some criteria that you follow?
Well, I mean, if I want to compare something between two elements, like if I want to see which item is the biggest, or who maybe someone is faster, I want to compare between two things.
All right, that's correct. And if I ask you this, can we use the ER with all the adjectives, or what is the rule that we have for
that? No, I mean, there are some exceptions, like bad.
Okay.
It's not better, it's worse. Bad, worst. Yeah, there's some words like that we cannot use ER.
Correct, right? We have some exceptions, as you call them, right? Those are irregular adjectives that we have to change, right? The adjective in a different way to make it comparative. Good. And what about this? For example, if I ask you for the adjective comfortable or interesting, can we still use the ER for that one, or what's the rule over there?
Yeah, in that case, we have to use more because it's too long. So yeah, more.
Good. There you go. Yes, you have the main rules. So let's just take a look into the details so that we have this covered. All right, that's it. We have, of course, more ways to compare things, but this is the basic one, and we have to be sure that this is clear. So this is what you were saying, right? The ER comparing two different objects, two different people, or anything that comes to your mind. Let's read these examples, please, and we're going to analyze the usage of them.
Okay, John is 1 meter 80 centimeters. He's tall, but Chris is 1 meter 85. He's taller than John. America's big, but Russia is bigger. I want to have a more powerful computer. Is French more difficult than English?
Great, thank you. Now, again, this is easy, right? You have this structure, I know that, but how can you analyze these four examples? What are you using the first example? Why do you use then and you don't use it in the second one? What happens with the next two examples? So what differences can you spot and how can you summarize a short analysis of these four elements, Matthew?
Okay, well, in the first example, there's a comparison between Chris and John, and the usage of the comparative adjective is between these two, so he's taller than John because I have previous information. The second one, yeah, again, it's another comparison, but at the end, I think it's just a fact that Russia is bigger than America, but it's not necessary in this case to use it then, because it's at the end. Well, more powerful computer. Yeah, I would say it's, well, yeah, I mean, the person is emphasizing that a need that this person need more powerful, and we cannot use the ER in this situation. And well, the last one is question, using the comparative adjective.
Great, that's correct. So again, a few questions just to have everything clear. You mentioned something interesting in number 2, right? You said that you're mentioning America before, that's why you're not using then. So what is the logic? When can we use or we cannot use then? For example, right, in number 2 and number 3, we don't use that one. In number 2, you explained that already. But what about number 3? Why are we not using then? Because we usually have to compare two things. Right?
Yeah.
To use the comparative, we have to compare two things. So what's the second thing in example number 3? Or what can we suppose over there?
Yeah, well, in this case, it's like I would like to have a better or quicker computer. So I'm emphasizing that, yeah, I need something that it's better than the thing I probably have already.
Great, exactly, right? So we know that he's comparing this to his or her actual computer, right? But he's not mentioning that because in this case, it is obvious, right? I want to have a more powerful computer than the one I have now, right? So instead of saying all that, we just say this because we can again say that, yes, so he's comparing this to something that this person already has, right? So good. Again, very simple. I just want to go to those details because as everything is clear, I just want to be sure that every detail is understood. So this is the rule, right? You already mentioned the rule, but let's treat please all these details to have this clear activity.
Okay. I just read the chart with the example.
Yes, please. I have the rule that you have here, 1 syllable, 2 syllable, and the examples, please.
Okay. 1 syllable adjectives, old, fast. 2 syllable adjectives ending in Y, happy, easy. Rule, art, er, old, older. Variation, if the adjective ends in E, just add R. Late, later. Variation, if the adjective ends in consonant, vowel, consonant, double, the last consonant, big, bigger. Variation, if the adjective ends in Y, change to the Y to I, happy, happier.
There you go, right? So this is what you mentioned. Perhaps we can add the precision by saying that this works with 1 syllable adjectives and 2 syllable adjectives if they, right, end in Y, right? So those are going to be the criteria to use ER, right? If we don't follow this criteria, we cannot use ER. And as you said, we have to use a different way of comparison, right? So this is the long adjective. This is short. So let's read this to compare with the previous one, please.
Okay. 2 syllable adjectives not ending in Y. Modern, pleasant. All adjectives of 3 or more syllables. Expensive, intellectual. Rule, use more. Modern, more modern. Expensive, more expensive.
Good. Now again, very briefly, with this precision, then what are the criteria to use ER or more? What do you say? What is the criteria that we have to take into account to use one of them?
Well, in most of the cases, if it's 1 or 2 syllables, usually we have to add the ER. And with more than 3 syllables or not ending in Y, we have to use more.
Okay, good. Right, again, it's simple. Usually it's going to be all one right syllable adjectives. Perhaps we have exceptions, but yes. So the almost right for sure like feel that you have is the 1 syllable always or almost always with ER, and the 3 or more syllable right with more. But we have to be careful with the 2 syllable adjectives, right? Because the 2 syllable adjectives can be divided or can be used with ER or with more, right? Let's just be careful with that. But if you take a look at some books, or if you go to the internet and you search for this information, you're going to see that some or perhaps most of the 2 syllable adjectives can be used either with ER or more, and that's going to be your decision at the end. Okay, so you have even that possibility. But if you take into account this while rule, it's going to help you perhaps make a better decision. So we know again how to compare things, and we're not going to work on simple sentences. We're going to keep this information to use it again in a different activity in which we're going to compare many things, all right? Or perhaps just 2 things that is going to be part of a perhaps one essay that we're going to be building, but related to the question that I showed you before, right? The 2 options, picking one, but this time we're going to work that essay. Then, this is what I was telling you, right? Some 2 syllable adjectives can be used with ER or more. It's up to you. Let's read these 4 examples, please.
Okay. Quiet, quieter, more quiet. Clever, cleverer, more clever. Narrow, narrower, more narrow. Simple, simpler, more simple.
There you go, right? So you have that chance, and it's up to you. And these are some of the exceptions that you were mentioning, right? You were talking about bad, it is worse, and worst, that is the superlative, right? But here we're only taking a look at the comparative. So let's read also these 3 exceptions, please.
Okay. Good, better, bad, worst, and far, farther.
Good, there you go. And here we have a chart. We're not going to work in this chart now, actually. We're going to work on something different again. But you can see that right on the right, you have some sentences comparing, right, the Earth with Mars, right, in terms of diameter, distance, length, moons, surface, well, those characteristics. And that's it. All right, again, we're going to use this information, but I just wanted to show you that presentation to be sure that everything is clear. Let me know if you have questions before going to the next presentation, and then we can go to our practice. Let me know, please, Martin.
No, everything is clear.
All right, good. Now we have something that we also mentioned, but we didn't cover as a lesson, that is used to, right? So when do you use this expression?
Okay, when I'm trying to explain something that I was able to do in the past, like I used to do something. What else? Yeah, I would say that, like, I used to run marathons. Yeah.
Exactly, right? So you can talk about past habits or past routines that you got, right? Good. And this actually has 2 usages. The one and the main usage is only used to. That means what you said. But we also have be used to. So what do you think is the difference between used to and be used to?
Yeah, like like the first one, it refers like this past abilities or habits, and be used to is more like I'm used to travel every single weekend, like how to call it, it's not a routine, it's like something that you usually do. I don't know how to explain it.
Good. No, I think you're doing it great. Yeah. You can keep, if you say that idea, that's correct, right? Something that is common for you, that it's normal for you, right? If you use it with be used to. Good. So only one detail there, and this is something we're going to say here because it's interesting. In the first way, right, or the first usage, what is the form of the verb that you use? You say, right, give me an example using the first usage, please, Matthew. The past habits or abilities.
Okay, like I used to climb trees when I was a kid.
Good, exactly. So over there, we're using, we can say, as used to is an expression, we're using base verb, right? To climb, or you can call it, if you put it next to infinitive, right? But what about the other one? Give me an example. You already did, but one more time, and we're going to see if it is going to be correct. Okay, one example with the second usage, please, when it means that is common or normal for you.
Okay, I'm used to watch series the weekends.
All right. Okay, good. Good. Now, only one thing over there is going to change, right? But we're not going to say that now. It is going to be actually at the end of this presentation, because it is in this presentation, and you're going to tell me what is the thing that has to change. All right, only one detailing one second. So let's start again. A very short way to cover this lesson, because we already know this. Let's read the definition, actually, not examples, just the definition, please.
Okay, we use this expression to talk about habits or repeated actions in the past, which we don't do in the present. We also use it to talk about states in the past which are no longer true.
Thank you very much. Right, so you are mentioning things that perhaps are not part of your life anymore, things that you don't do anymore, things, again, right, that were part of your habits, but because of age, because of many, right, circumstances, well, it's not a thing anymore, right? So we get that. That's very simple. In negative, of course, it is the opposite. We have to take just one thing into account, that as it is negative, we use didn't, and of course use is in the base verb. The same for questions, right? We use did, so it means we use base verb and we don't use the be at the end. These are the three main formulas. But again, I believe that this is clear. I want to see this part, right? We're already there. Now, let's read, please. Actually, let's read the formulas. And yes, let's read everything here, please.
Okay. Subject, I suppose it's S.
Yes.
Be used to, gerund plus complement, subject plus get used to plus gerund plus complement. Any tense, those are different expressions used with a different purpose.
Good, right? So again, I told you already have the answer here, but we're going to take a look at these two examples. So let's keep reading, please. Let's also read everything here.
Choose be used to say you are accustomed to something, and so it seems normal or usual. if you are used to something, it is not difficult, new, or strange. Don't worry, I'm used to listening to loud music. She's used to dancing with her friends. It's not
Great.
new for her.
Oh, sorry. Yes. So there you go. So again, we're already here. So what is the thing that you have to change from your example then?
The gerund part, I should have used, with the ing form
With
of
ing.
the verb.
Yes, correct. And it's a very common example, along with the one that is for look forward to, right? When we say look forward to, we also use gerund, right? We have to say, if you say, I'm looking forward to see you, that's incorrect, right? It has to be, I'm looking forward to seeing you. So the same here. Why? Because in these weird cases, to is not infinitive, to is preposition, and after all prepositions, we use the gerund. All right, that's the only explanation over there. So when you use be used to, different to used to only, we have to use gerund instead of the base verb. All right, so this is only be used to, but get used to. And not reading this, actually you can scan these, and Matilde, and reading the examples, actually not reading, but all right, scan it as well. So when do you use get used to? If we use be used to when something is normal, is already normal or common for us, when do we use get used to? What do you say? Take a minute and give me your answer.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, it's similar, but with get, yeah, I could use it for for the present, like I'm getting used to well, sleeping late at night, something that it's developing, or it could refer to something that it's, or like in the future, that's I will get used to something. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Okay, so yes, the main difference is that be used to is that it's normal for you, right? But get used to or getting used to something is becoming used to something, right? Again, as you said, right, it's a transformation. It's a period of getting from one state to a different state, but it's not like common for you yet, right? It's in the process of getting to be common, but it is not yet. But again, it depends on the tense that you use it, right? But this is very, very commonly used in the present continuous, as you can see in these two examples, right? Because it has that idea of becoming, converting, transforming, right, into a new state. All right, so there you go. You have then these three ways of using used to, right? Just the verb used to, that means past habits. Just the expression be used to, that means something normal for you. And getting, or you can say be getting used to, that means the process of making something normal for you, right? So again, it depends how you use it. It can be interesting. And remember that you can always replace used with what in the last two cases? With accustomed, right? If you say accustomed or used to, it's the same, right? Here, they are synonyms. But we cannot say accustomed for the first case, right? In that case, we cannot use that. What is Another expression, perhaps I can ask you this. What is another expression that can replace the usage of used to with the same meaning in English? What do you say? Like, for example, in this example, if you say, when I was younger, I used to play a lot with my friends.
Well, I was going to say be able, but in the case of this example, I think it doesn't fit that well.
Yeah, it's a possibility, but it's not going to be like the exact same meaning, right? No, it's not going to be the same. It changes. So what would it be? It's just to give you an idea, it's just one model. Okay, one model. In this case, we're using a verb plus the form of the infinitive, but a model can replace this. What could it be?
I don't know. I cannot think about something.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because the main meaning of this model is not related to past activities in this way. It's the past actually of something. All right, I'm going to tell you now, it's the past of will. What's the past of will? Would.
Would.
Okay, would in a good context, not always, you have to be careful, but it is the same as used. Okay, exactly the same. If you say, when I was younger, right, I would play with my friends, it's translated in the same way as I used to play with my friends. All right, but you have to be careful because would is used for specific actions that cannot perhaps be there for a very long period of time. Okay, for example, living, working, if it's for many years, it's just better to use used to. Okay, but if you're talking about just some activities that were part of your routine, would is very interesting to use. All right, so go, for example, look for some stories, all right, about past, and you're going to see how it's very common to use would, even in some cases more common than used to. All right, so that's again something that you have to have over there, and you can try to use it in the exercise we're going to have. But again, take into account that it's not applied and it's not possible to use it in every context. All right, but that's it. I mean, I want to have this here so that we can work on comparing things, and you can compare also things that, well, were things that you used to do, now things that you are used to doing, all right? And you can compare the characteristics of those things using the comparatives that you know. So we have the tools here. We already had the tools, but these are giving us, right, the parameters with which we're going to work now. But before again finishing this presentation and going to the practice, I want to know if you have questions or comments, please, Matilda. Let me know.
No, I don't think so. It was clear.
Okay, good. So let's do something. I told you that I wanted to show you a presentation that I didn't at the end, and it includes this type of, yes, this one. Okay, it includes this type of things like used to and the next part, right? And actually with number one, then you have it. But I want to see, right, if we have this, actually also the last part, because we already covered most of these exceptions. So let's see if we remember, all right? Perhaps here we don't know just one, I would say that just one or two, but I will go with one, all right? The rest of them, I believe that you got it, or at least we're going to see if we remember. So In number 1, right, what is the correct option? Is it to see, seen, to seen, you?
I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward. It's seeing you. I'm look forward. I mean, it's different if I say I look forward, right?
Yes, just the tense is different, but the meaning would be the same. But actually, to make that with the meaning we want here, we need one element over there. So what could it be? You tell me. To see, seen, or to seen? What could it be?
I'm not sure, but but it's not to see. that one I know.
All right. What could it be then? Seen, see, or to see?
It's not see. So it's I'm looking forward. I'm between to see or seeing.
Okay. So what do you say? All right. Drop a coin and you tell me which one.
To see. Let's say to see.
Okay, we're going to then see the answers and I'm going to expand on that, all right? What about number 2? Is it was, were, are, be?
If it if it was.
All right.
Or yeah. Okay.
Okay, good. And number 3, the teacher suggests that he is, are, be, was, were on time.
I mean, honestly, I'm thinking that it could be 2 options, but
all right, yeah, it can be possible if you know how to support that decision. And here perhaps one can work better, but if you support the decision by explaining and also by giving context before and afterwards, it's possible that it's more than one.
okay. The teacher suggests that he is on time.
All right. And what is the other one, just in case? What do you think is the other possibility?
That he was
all
on
right.
time.
Okay, let's then have those 2, all right, just in case. Then number 4, right? I can't help, uncomfortable.
I can't help feeling uncomfortable.
All right, good. Yes, you remember this was also part of the song that we were listening to, right? From Elvis, and it's related to for and can't help. I can't help. Okay, good. Then this one, right? I don't know if you remember the exceptions for the tag questions for let's and for do. I mean for suggestions, recommendations, and for imperatives and orders. So in the first one, will, shall, do, is. And what? We or you. And here, the same. Will, shall, do, are, we, you. what could it be? We have to choose two things, one here and one here.
Okay. Shall we?
All right. And the one down below? Sorry, this one.
Are you?
All right. So now it's like that. Okay, so let's see. Actually, we're going to keep that there. I'm not going to delete that. And I'm going to show you the following. All right. So in number one, okay, we have to, is it possible to read it like that? Yes, read what you have there, please. Read number one, Amy.
Okay. Look forward to has to as a preposition that is part of the expression. Therefore, if you want to use a verb, it must be adjourned.
Okay, now, understanding that, we know one thing now, right? First is that actually the expression that cannot be divided or separated is a three-word phrasal verb. Okay, this is a three-word phrasal verb. Looking forward or look forward to. Okay, and to in this case is not infinitive, it is preposition. All right, so we cannot take to away from this formula. And as to is a preposition, as it happened with used to, actually, again, it sounds weird, right? And it's a very common mistake, all right? It's a common mistake even for native English speakers. It is to seeing you, okay? It was the last one, okay? I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm looking forward to meeting you. I'm looking forward to watching this movie with you. All right. And again, it's one of the few exceptions. It happens usually. The two common exceptions are the two that we took a look today, right? Used to, be used to doing something and looking forward to doing something. Okay, those two are the biggest exceptions in which to is not infinitive. It is a preposition and we have to use gerund. All right, so again, we're going to then mark the one, and it is, sorry, this one, right? To seeing you. Now, let's keep going because again, this is interesting and it's important. I think we cannot see it, but anyway, we're going to remember. Let's read number two, please.
Okay. If indicates that it is a conditional for unreal present situations, we must use the subjunctive form of that verb in the simple past.
Good. Now, what's the meaning of subjunctive, right?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but yeah, I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yes, and here actually was is correct. Even in a test, if you write was is correct, right? It is correct. But once again, if you want to show that you know about grammar, that you know about academic English, you are going to write where. Okay, because grammatically speaking, the correct form is where, right? Why? Because where is the subjunctive form of the verb to be with all the subjects in past. And also, how can you recognize that you need to use the subjunctive when you have conditionals? All right, if you have conditionals and you have would in the next part, it means that this is a past and real conditional. Okay, and in past and real conditionals, you have to use the subjunctive where or the main verb in the simple past. All right, so that's number two. Let's keep working. The third one is actually really interesting. It's very confusing, and it's because it's advanced grammar. All right, in number three, because it can be correct, as you were saying, with is or was in a certain way. But one more time, grammatically speaking, actually is none of those options. All right, so let's go to the next part. And let's read please number three.
The subjunctive mood in the base form is used to express desire or imagination. It is used to give strong suggestions and give advice.
Great. Okay, so this is interesting. First, desire or imagination but also for strong suggestions and give advice. It means when you're talking about teachers, doctors, all right, people who can give suggestions, but it's in the form of you have to do it, all right, but in a polite way, that's when you use the subjunctive. And the subjunctive is base form. And that's interesting because here the correct form then would be be. All right, just be. The teacher suggests that he be on time. All right, it's that form again of the verb that English doesn't have as a way of conjugation. It's the same as were, right? If I were you, that way in which if you, again, it's not good translating, but if you translate that right in your head, that form of the verb is not present in the English vocabulary. That's why they have to lend some words. They usually lend the were form, were past ideas, and the be form, were present ideas. All right. So again, this is one exception, but take into account if you have something like a teacher, a professor, a boss, or a doctor, and you have a suggestion, a recommendation, then very, very likely you have to use the base form after any subject that you have. Okay, that you be, that he be, that she be, that we be on time. All right, and again, it sounds weird, but it is the correct answer in that case. Now, in the next ones, we are good just with the last one, okay, because the next two are good. This one also 50-50 because this is good, but here, let's take a look at the correct one. But to get there, please let's read 4, 5, and 6.
Okay. Some expressions like can help and feel like need the use of gerund forms. After it, the meaning is different. The question form of let's is made with shall. Let's always consist of you and I, we. An instruction always has will as an auxiliary in tag questions. Instructions always use the subject you.
Great. Okay, thank you very much. So again, right, number 4, good. I can help feeling, great. Let's do it, shall we? Because let's is always you and I. And finally, do, right, that was the only detail. It doesn't have an auxiliary because this is not like present. This is just an instruction. So we have to borrow what? The auxiliary will for future. It doesn't have, right, any sense, doesn't make sense, but it's the right thing to do in this case. All right, so it will be do it, will you? And that's it. All right, again, I wanted to show you this because we have some exceptions that make the usage of English sound weird, but grammatically speaking, again, they are going to be correct. And if you use these structures, they add this complexity to your speech, perhaps speaking, and to your writing when working on an essay. Right, so you can always, this is a suggestion also that people that here, for example, they are working for the preparation course, they always suggest you to use, right, at least 2 or 3, at least one complex structure per paragraph that you have. Okay, not every time because it sounds weird, and it can be just 2 in your whole essay, right? Because if you fill that out of these special expressions, it sounds very fake, unreal, and it's not good, right? So if you use this, again, just a couple of times, it works, and again, it's showing that you know about these rules. But that's it. Now we have the time to work on the activity that I told you. But first, I want to know if you have any questions about these details, Matilda. Let me know, please.
No, it was clear. Yeah, very
All
clear.
right, good. So let's then go to our document. Remember that we're working, and this is part of Unit 4 already, so we can use that chart, okay, down below. So if you can go to the document, please. In the meantime, I'm going to find, yes, I'm going to find the essay that we were correcting, if you remember, the punctuation. Yeah. You're going to have that as a model because you're going to follow that idea to work just the first part, okay? The introduction and in the beginning of the first paragraph for an essay that you're going to continue writing, okay? But let's first go to that file, okay? Good, we didn't correct the third paragraph, but we're going to do that tomorrow. We only need now the introduction and this. Okay, good. So here we are. Here you have the introduction plus the first paragraph. That's what we need. We don't have the second paragraph. We're going to correct this in terms of punctuation tomorrow, and we're going to add. But here, what you need to take into account is first the connection, some transitional words that we're using. Here, for example, you have furthermore, and you have according, right? Start, you have first, then you have this that is very important, the fanboy, that means reason. Then you have an example, a matter of fact. Then you have more examples, all right, according to apocryphal hearsay. And I believe that that's it for this paragraph. For the next one, we're not going to see that yet because we need to analyze that first. But the idea is this one. If you analyze this essay that you have for the TOEFL is very similar, right, than what you do for the speaking part in 45 seconds. Because you have two options, right, to choose from. You pick one, you clarify that in your introduction. Okay, say interesting things about your option and say that as a result, you believe that that's the best option. Okay, that's the introduction. If you analyze the introduction, it's just that. Okay, good things about this, good things about this, and more good things. And that's why I believe that this is fair. Then you have to start showing that, right? You start, again, showing facts, giving examples. Okay, so give good reasons, give good examples to support your decision. It's the same again as in speaking, but now you have to write it. And of course, you have to apply all the punctuation rules that you know, some transitional words, and the details that you see over here. This is going to be your template now. I'm going to give me 1 second. Actually, let me make this bigger now. Okay, it's going to be there for you. No, I don't need this. Okay, so over there, if you remember, you gave me some ideas, or at least it was just one idea to have this. I don't know if you remember, if it's there, Matilde, the question that you asked yourself. It was one question and you had to pick one, and we work on one exercise. I don't know if you remember that one or if you have it over there.
You mean the question for the speaking part, or?
No, it was for one writing exercise, I believe, and you were choosing one option also. But it was something very simple. It was not to write an essay. It was just one paragraph, I believe. But let me see. Let me see. I think we didn't write the question. We only wrote the explanation or the development of that idea. So let me see. Oh, yes. This is the one I believe. Right? Traveling alone or traveling with friends. Okay, you remember you asked that to yourself and you wrote one short paragraph. Okay, so that's just an idea that you can use now, but now you have to make it more complex, more complete. You need an introduction and you need the beginning of the first paragraph. Okay, so that's going to be your question. Okay, let's make that your question. It means again that you have to follow once again what you have here, an introduction before going to more complex and more complete supporting ideas for that decision. All right, so I don't know if you have any questions. You have your question already. You just need to work on an essay with this model. Let me know, please. Do you have any questions before starting?
Okay, so I have to start like from the beginning. You have to make the introduction and yeah, like preparing a formal essay.
Exactly. And you can give me a short, well, this is not a short, but you can make it shorter, all right? A title or just all right, an introductory idea to understand what's your stand on the question that you have, okay? Traveling by yourself or traveling with friends. So here you can write, right? It's better traveling with friends than traveling by oneself, right? You can make it even more formal and you can say by oneself. And that's it. And after that clarification, you start with the introduction. You can use again the structure that you have here. That's why I'm showing you here. And what's the structure? Mainly, you have one complete idea, where one complex and compound idea. Then you have additional information furthermore, and then you have the result. That is again like your thesis statement, right? It's very similar to the type of essay we were working on. We are mixing because we are learning the different types of introduction that we have. So this is more simple or simpler, right, than the one we were learning. But again, that's the only thing. And then you start with the first idea or the first benefit or reason that you want to develop to support that decision. All right, so what do you say? Are you ready to start?
Yeah. So as an essay, I have to do it in third person, right?
Yeah, you actually here they are not going to tell you to be as formal. You can even use first person, but to practice, all right, to have a midpoint, my recommendation would be yes, to use impersonal pronouns like it or one or a person. Okay, impersonal pronouns, it means third person, as you're saying. All right, good. So let's do it then, please. Let's have again, we're not going to have perhaps the two paragraphs, but have the introduction plus the beginning of the first paragraph. Try to write as much as you can in 6 to 7 minutes, and we'll take a look at what you got. All right?
Right.
Good. So let's do it, please. I'm starting with the timer now. All right, so it's about to be the 7 minutes, and here we are. So, again, we're going to take a look at this in a superficial way, and we're going to continue working because this is going to be the beginning of an essay that you're going to finish with me. All right, this one is something, and also the ones that you have, we're going to complete them. But I want to have those ideas and I want to complete them little by little. Let's just start by reading, please, what you have so far, Matilde, and tomorrow we will continue after our lessons.
Okay. Traveling with friends is better than traveling alone. When you have the opportunity of traveling with friends, you realize that this is actually a better option for yourself. If we compare these two options, we will see that traveling alone has more disadvantages than advantages. If you want to plan for a trip, you will see that traveling with friends is cheaper, more secure, and more fun.
Great, thank you very much. So again, very well, some details actually that I want to take into account before finishing today. Remember that in the first part you have a clause that is divided in two parts, and the part in which is divided is over here, right? So we need a comma over here. So when you bump the first clause, then comma, you realize the second clause, right? Then if we compare these two options, good, with the comma over there, yes, good. Now, my only recommendation again is the usage of in this case, at least for the last part, of a transitional word. All right, just to add the idea of a conclusion in this part, okay? Because I believe that here, this is like, it's not your thesis statement, but it's close to a thesis statement for this essay, because here we don't have it. So let's try to add something that shows result. And again, you have the option that you have on the template, all right, or the model, all right, therefore, or thus, or as a result, or accordingly. All right, just to have again the idea of this is my last idea and this is the result of this information I showed before. All right, and here of course this will be like that. If you want to do this, you will see that traveling with friends is cheaper, more secure, and we're going to use also this comma, right? The Oxford comma. Why? My keyword is like that, because we have three elements, right? Cheaper, secure, and fun. That's it. Okay, with this we finish. I don't know if you have questions before finishing with that one. Let me know, please.
It's clear. Actually, I just had one thing in mind while I was writing it. In this part, that if we compare these two options, should be these with THESE or THIS.
In what part? Sorry, one more time, please, Matilde. I didn't get that.
In this part, if we compare these two options, the second and third line.
Okay.
After the dot, yeah. So I wasn't sure if I should put this THIS or THESE.
All right, in this part you said, right? If we compare these two things, we will see that traveling alone has more disadvantages than here than advantages. Where do you want to place that again? What are you not sure about?
Just this part, after if we compare these two options, I wasn't sure about this.
Yes, you're right. This has to be the plural form, right? I didn't pay attention to that one. So it would be this one.
This, okay.
Just that one. Yes, you're right. I didn't even notice that. You're right. It has to be plural. Okay, so let's continue. You have the introduction now. It means that tomorrow we're going to cover the lessons that we have left. That again, I believe, just let me see before we finish. Because I can tell you in that way what we can do tomorrow. Yes, just two. Great. So one tomorrow, one for the day after tomorrow. So great. Tomorrow we're just going to cover one lesson. We're going to have more time. We're going to correct the paragraph that we didn't correct yet. That is this one, the third one, okay, in terms of punctuation. After correcting that, we're going to try to work on the first paragraph for the same essay you're working on, and we're going to try to keep using these the comparatives that we have and all the knowledge that we've been working on. Okay, but that's it. I'm going to share the survey with you. You must be able to see it now, and that's it. I'll see you tomorrow then. Till then, I hope you have a good night, and that's it. Okay, bye bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.